So hey everyone, welcome back to the EXTV Live's Q&A segment, where we've had people like Shaka Hislop of ESPN FC, Kenwin Jones, and a very special guest today, the one, the only, Randy Waldrum. You know, he has been someone who has been very special to the Trinidad Tobago women's national team. Randy, into the questions.
Okay.
So the first question is from Hassan. Should the men's and women's team get the same salary?
Well, you know, we're in a big state of that here in the U.S. with our women's team suing our federation for equal pay. And I would say, obviously, since I'm involved in the women's game and coach on that side, I certainly think the pay should be equal for the women and the men. I think for the playing piece of it, for the job that they do, I think certainly they should be paid accordingly and no disparity. Now, I certainly do understand the business side and filling up stadiums and television revenue and all those kinds of things that are some of the reasons why some federations are not doing it. So I understand a little bit of the business side of that. But I think as far as the actual playing piece and what player salaries are, I 100% would support the women and their ability to be paid the same as the men. Absolutely.
Yep, you know, and you are definitely the right guy to ask this. This is where you work. This is your field. So if there's anyone that you should be asking, it's probably Randy Waldrum, folks.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's excellent question. So the next question is from Nigel Myers. In 2014, we had 3 bites of the cherry, but still came up short. In hindsight, what were we missing? Why were we not able to make it to the promised land? So I assume he means the World Cup.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question, and it's one that's been asked, you know, a lot. And listen, I would first say this: we didn't accomplish the goal, and as a coach, I have to take responsibility for it, and I think as our players have to take responsibility for it, and I think we all have. I think it's pretty well documented that that we're not hiding behind anything here. So let me start by saying that, but let me also say that I think where we struggled the most, and I think what kept us from qualifying is I'll go back to the preparation issue. And we had a couple of players that came into the qualifying injured. I think Jean-Francois, who's a big piece in our midfield, was injured going into the World Cup qualifiers. Ayanna Russell, I remember, came in injured into camp as well. And I think Karen Forbes had a little bit of an ankle injury that she had been nursing for a while. So even before we started, we weren't where we needed to be. But I kind of make this allusion for those to help you understand. If your track and field team were getting ready to go run in the Olympics, you wouldn't wait till 2 weeks or 3 weeks out from the Olympics to actually start your training from the football. So our kids came in all different physical levels, to be quite honest with you. So our qualification from U.S. to Haiti to Guatemala, I think we played 3 games in maybe 10 days or so, something like that, in a pretty congested time period. And then we had a little bit of a break, from a day or 2 break before we went into the knockout rounds. And then we picked up Costa Rica and Mexico, and those are the first 2 bites at the apple, so to speak. I think if you were closely in tune with our team and you saw where we are, well, Costa Rica was going into our fourth game in 10 or 12 days, and physically we just weren't where we needed to be. And I give a lot of credit to the team to pull a goal back late. Lauren scored off a great free kick that we developed in that game to tie it up, to give us a chance to get a result. And of course, we didn't do it in penalty kicks, and so we missed that first bite. But I think as the tournament went on, we could see more and more players really hitting the wall from a fatigue standpoint. We got Mexico in that last game for the 3rd, 4th place game. And the winner qualified. And same thing, we got into that game, and literally in the second half of that game, we were having players begging to come off. They were done. Their legs were just shot. And if you remember correctly, Mei Lee got hurt in the first half with an ankle injury. and she was a true warrior and continued on and played through it. But late in the game, with only 3 substitutions, we made those substitutions and monitored it the best we could. But in addition to those 3, we probably had 3 more that were just running on empty fumes. They literally wanted to be off the field, and we just had to encourage them just to stay and get through it. And so I just think the physical piece in those 2 games, Costa Rica, Mexico, I think were the 2 games that we just didn't have the physical preparation that we needed to get through. And for us to climb back into Mexico, being a goal down late, to come back and pull it back even, to even get the game into overtime, was quite an accomplishment considering where we were physically. And then we had to play 30 more minutes, and they go on and win, score 2 more goals in overtime to win it. It just, the legs just simply weren't there. And there's some things you just can't do if your body is not prepared properly, for what's being asked of it to do. And so I'm not I certainly don't want it to come across as excuses, but I certainly think if you were close to what we were doing through our camps and through the preparation, you could see that the team physically, wasn't prepared. We needed to have gotten a result in the first game against Costa Rica. That was our best chance to get through, especially with it going to penalties. But I knew it would be a difficult challenge with Mexico. And again, keep in mind, the other factor is those 2 teams had been training, for a year. They had been in camps. We had not been in proper preparation, and those 2 countries had been. So that's a secondary factor. I think once we got to Ecuador, I think the difficulty lied in not having proper preparation, not having enough time to do altitude training. I think the sports science will tell you need 7 to 10 days to acclimate. Well, we didn't have that. We had probably 5 days to go to Mexico City and try to acclimate a little bit. And I think we really, in a lot of ways, pulled off a miracle to keep it at 0 in Ecuador, to be able to come back home and have a chance at home in the final leg. And I think there in the final leg, I don't think it boiled down. We had plenty of rest and opportunity to come back and put on a good show. And I think we did. And I think it was just one of those games where, the soccer gods were against us a little bit, I guess. And we got a little bit unlucky in some opportunities. And then to give up kind of the goal, the way we gave it up at the end was difficult. But I think Costa Rica on the front end, and I think Ecuador at home on the back end were the 2 really best chances. But I kind of think those first 2 games were more of where we were in our physical preparation than anything else. So, but we own it, and we get it. And like I said, I think in hindsight, now that it's all over, certainly would we have liked to qualify? Absolutely, 1,000%. I don't think there would be anybody that would tell you we didn't want to do that. But I think with time and passage of time, I've come to realize that we probably accomplished a lot more than really what anybody expected, considering the lack of true preparation that we really had. So great question.
It's a great question, and it's great because now we can give some insight. And we actually, Randy and I had a very detailed discussion. I'll put a link to that in the description below, where we elaborated on the campaign and the challenges. So if you want, further insight, you can take a look at that, because it was quite challenging and quite interesting. The challenges Randy and the team had to face. So listen, lovely question. So we're going to head into the next question. It's from Dylan C. Prasad from Trinidad and Tobago. If you were still the head coach today, what would you have done differently?
Well, the first thing I would have done if I would have had the time is we would have had them preparing 6 months, in advance of the qualification event at a minimum, had the group together in camps and competition and played some international matches to get those young players used to the international level at the senior team level. But all of that obviously just was not in the cards for us to do. So I don't know that I could have changed much in the event as it was ongoing at the time. I don't know that there would, as a coach, there would have been much that I would have done differently. I think we had the right collection of players. I think we had the right preparation. I think for the most part, tactically, the way we played most of the matches were the right decision. I think every time a coach can go back after a game and analyze, which we all do, and say, maybe earlier I should have put a player, made this substitution a little bit earlier, or maybe I should have used this substitution in a different way. I mean, we all kind of second guess ourselves, and that's part of our job, is to always be analyzing. But in the grand scheme, I don't think there's much I would have changed. Based on if I had the same amount of time and the same window and the same competition and players, I think we really did a pretty good job of hitting it on the mark for the most part. I think if the times were different, if there would be something I would like to have changed, more time and more preparation would have been the first and foremost thing by a mile. It's not even a close second. That's what we needed is time with the team. Then we would go into that competition, and the physical and the mental component would be we would have had that dealt with. That wouldn't have been an issue and a concern. But then it just comes down to the technical ability of our players and the tactics that we're implementing, and those things you can manage. But when you have to also manage the mental side and you have to manage the physical side, and when all four of those components really aren't in place and you don't have the time to prepare those components, it makes the challenge really difficult. So another really good question, Dylan. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said before, we spoke about that aspect in great detail, which I'll put in a description below, because, I'm pretty sure Randy would like a lot more time to elaborate, but, these insights are very valuable. And, you spoke about the psychological components and things like that. These are things that, people often overlook, when, judging the performance of a team. And as you said, you needed more time. You did a lot with a short period of time that you did. And, maybe now with hindsight, you're seeing it. But and it shows your own very high standards that, what you had set for this team. And I'll say this, a lot of people were, they are very much aware that the women's team were not getting the focus that the men's team was getting in terms of resources. So when they saw a team that was performing really well and had looked very organized and not out of their depth, it was really a pleasant surprise. So it's a testament to your work. And it's an excellent question, Dylan. Excellent question.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, we're going to ask the final question, which is a little bit different. And I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'm going to let you guess after we ask the question. We're going to have some fun. We're shaking things up, folks. Shaking things up.
Okay.
So we're going to ask the question. I'm going to reveal the person as anonymous for now. And you could probably, I'll let you answer and then probably guess who it is, and then I'll tell you afterwards. So Here goes the question. I'm pretty sure you'll figure it out, but who knows? Who knows? So the question goes like this. Hi, Coachman. That's a Trinidadian thing. Coachman.
Right.
Hi, Coachman.
Yeah.
Hope all is well, that you are keeping sane during these crazy times. My question for you is, what is your favorite Trini food when you were down here? And do you miss having body?
Oh, yeah. That's a great question. That's probably got to come from Jan Francois, I'm guessing, or maybe Aaron King. That would be my guess. I may be wrong on that, but the favorite food, I think I was telling you earlier before we started, I love the bacon shark. I love that. That was probably my favorite food. And I love the bread. I don't know what it's called, but just the bread that you have for breakfast. I love the bread. I would have to really watch my weight if I'm there all the time. But that was probably my favorite food. And yeah, the booty, I never could get into that. I didn't really know what it was, and I couldn't see having it for breakfast. And, I don't know if it's a mixture. You might have to tell me, Andre, is that a mixture of green beans, or what is that actually? But I wasn't a fan of that.
Okay, well, before I reveal the identity of who it is, I will say this. It's and hopefully for all you chef, you connoisseurs out there, don't butcher me. But it visually looks like asparagus. It tastes like a green peas, I guess. For lack of a better explanation, it's not bad at all. It does not have a bad taste, but visually, it's probably something that's a shock when you see it. Depends on how it's prepared. You're like, what is this? So, maybe
Yeah, I think
yeah.
shock is a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's various ways to prepare it. There's I can't remember the American equivalent of what it is, but it's something you do see in the US. But there's different variations. We have different variations. There's the thin, long one.
Yeah.
There's the one that looks like it's kind of thick. So I'm not sure which one you saw, but I can tell you that it's it has the taste of a peas type
Yeah.
taste.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
maybe I'm mentally
Yeah.
preparing you for when you come down next time. So.
Okay, that's a deal.
All right, so that's a very interesting question. And the person that asked that question, drum roll, it's Aaron King.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know she would know, and she would know. I figured she had to at least be one of the three, because I think between Aaron, Lauren, and Jan, we continue to joke about that to this day. When I talk to them, it's they always ask me a question about the booty. So, but that's great. Yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah.
Always good to hear from Aaron.
It's good to show. They support Extra Time TV a lot. Aaron King, Lauren Hutchinson, and them all. Danelle. I did interviews with them. I'll have so many interviews with them. I'll put them in the description below. You can check them out. It's wonderful. We'll probably have them on the show soon as well again. But it shows how much Randy knows his players. I mean, he pretty much got it the first time around, and he tried to be safe and played it through. But I know, some coaches with some questions that he got wrong. So spot on, Randy. Good job.
Well, thank you.
So folks, unfortunately, we had lots of questions. We could only squeeze in a couple. So thank you for sending in your questions. If you have any further questions, send them into Extra Time TV. You can head over to extvmedia.com and head over to the Contact Us form. Put a question there. You could email us at extratimetvtt@gmail.com. Message us on Instagram, Facebook. We are everywhere, and trust me, we read every single question. The show revolves around you guys and gals, and we listen to everything you all have to say, and the content definitely rotates around our viewers. So let us know what you have to say. So Randy, it's been a pleasure. As I said at the beginning, we could probably chat for hours, and we'll definitely have to do this again, Randy.
Well, I really appreciate you having me on, Andre. It's always great to catch up and talk about great times and great players and memories. And please send all my love to the people there in Trinidad. I'm thinking about you guys through this virus, and just want to say how much I really appreciate all the support and energy that you had for me and for our team back in those days. And I look forward to getting over to see you all soon.
All right. So Randy, as I said multiple times, over and over, it's a pleasure, and we'll definitely do more of these soon. Just a reminder, everyone, for more episodes, be sure to head over to our YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more updates, interviews, and content.